y'all, welcome back to Nini's Texas Kitchen. Today we're going to make homemade strawberry pie with fresh strawberries. So the first thing that I got to do is set my oven to 375 degrees. And I'm going to let that preheat while I get my pie crust ready. So my pie crust recipe is a recipe that I sort of invented based off of other recipes that I combined together, but I'm going to use my food processor to create my crumbly flour shortening mixture to add my wet ingredients to create my dough, because this is just a lot easier than using a fork and stirring it by hand. And I have carpal tunnel syndrome, so this helps me out. So the first thing you're going to need to make the pie crust is 2/3 of a cup of shortening, and then you need 2 cups of flour. So then you put that in, like so. Alright. And then I put 2 tablespoons of sugar in it because I want it to be a sweet short crust pastry, and it's just slightly sweet. It's not like, it doesn't taste like a dessert itself. It just has a little hint of sweet to it. Then you're going to add 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt, like so. Now then, I'll need that in a minute. Now you got to combine your dry ingredients. So I just do the pulse like this until it starts getting very crumbly. You can see how it's already starting to stick together. It's making a fine, crumbly mixture. And this is what it looks like once it starts to combine. Okay. Now, I add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just going to use my cap. And this is real vanilla extract, not that fake stuff. And then you need about 7 tablespoons of cold water, and this is already cold. I just got this before we started filming. And pour that in. And then we'll combine it again until it turns into a dough. There we go. And voila, we have our pie dough. Ta-da! Now, all this out of the way, all this messy stuff. All right, take the plate out, like so. Just don't cut yourself. Now I'm gonna sprinkle some flour on my island so I can roll out my pie dough. Now this pie dough recipe is enough for 2 pie crusts, but I'm probably not going to use all of it, but I am going to have a little bit left over, because what I'm doing is I'm going to have a bottom crust, and then I'm going to make a lattice for the top. Okay, so I just sort of turn my crust on both sides, like so. And I just out of the way, and then I'll roll it out. Be gentle, you don't want to overwork your pie crust dough because it'll get hard. And you want it to stay tender and flaky. So you don't want to go crazy with it. So you don't want to have your flour start making the gluten get stretchy. And if you don't have a food processor, you can still make this crust, because I didn't have a food processor for like 30 years. But I got one not long ago. But you can do it just using a fork and mixing it yourself. You very carefully take your dough, and see it's already tearing because it's real tender. But I can squeeze it back together when I get it in here. All right. So if that happens, don't fret. It's pie dough. You can smush it back together. Nobody will know because they will be eating it. You can take off other pieces and press them in to the bottom, like so. I have extra here, so I'm just gonna move it around. Just make sure you adhere it together good. And I don't know where y'all are from, but in Texas, at least with everybody I knew growing up, we didn't always like try to make perfectly little beautiful fluty edges on our pie dough. What we did was take a fork and crimp the edge. So, all right, so now that this part is done, I'm gonna trim my edges and I will put the rest of it back with that other dough. So I just got my knife and a fork. And then this is how my mom taught me. I just go around with the knife like so. And cut off the excess. And just a little bit of extra. Here. Okay. Now I'm going to put this up in a minute and let it chill, because I'm going to blind bake this. So now I got to take my fork and I'm just going to make small little pricks in there, because I'm blind baking it. I don't want my crust to shrink. Okay, then I crimp the edge. This is just the easy way to crimp the edge of your pie. And our oven has finished preheating. So we just go all the way around the whole edge of the pie like so. Now, I don't have any of those baker's bead thingies that they use to do them. So you can use any kind of dried beans. So I have a bunch of pintos because, like I say, this is Nini's Texas kitchen, and we always have pinto beans in Texas kitchens. So I'm just gonna pour these in and spread them around nice and even. And this will help to keep my pie crust from shrinking while I blind bake it. And this is just a little square of parchment paper. So now I'm gonna put it in here like so. And I'm gonna bake it for 15 to 20 minutes. I don't want it like all the way cooked through. I just wanna bake it enough to where my strawberry mixture won't make it soft. I don't want no soggy bottom on my pie. All right, so I'm setting that for 15 minutes. Now, we'll just brush our mess out of the way, and I'll show you how to prepare your filling, because it has to sit here and have about 5 cups of fresh chopped strawberries here, and I did take 2 tablespoons of lemon juice approximately and just put it over that and tossed them, and that just helps them to stay fresh while I'm waiting on everything else. And now I have to add my other ingredients. So I have 1/2 cup of white sugar. Just sprinkle that in. I have 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Now we'll start stirring that together. Like so. And the juices of the strawberry, along with a little bit of lemon juice that I sprinkled on it, will start to dissolve those sugars. Now, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of cornstarch. Cornstarch is not like flour, it's like stickier. So, you gotta get it all out of there. Okay. Stick this in here to chill for a minute. So now I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. And just a little pinch of salt. Not much. Alright, so now we stir all this up. And you want it to kind of start to get sugary and gelled like with the salt, the juices that it creates from those sugars. And your goal when you stir this up is to make sure that your cornstarch is completely dissolved, and as you can see, it is completely dissolved. So now I just got to sit here and let these sit for 10 minutes, and I'm going to let my pie dough chill while I'm doing that and clean all this stuff up. So once our pie crust is finished blind baking, we'll come back and show you the next steps. Okay, y'all, our crust has finished blind baking, and I let it sit here and cool for about 10 minutes. And now, as you can see, it's partially done. It's not all the way done. It'll finish cooking the rest of the way when I bake the whole pie. These are the strawberries after they've had time to sit there with the cornstarch, sugars, a little salt, and some lemon juice, vanilla, and almond extract to make their juice that'll turn into that bubbly stuff that you like when you eat pies. So now I'm just going to pour this in to my pie crust, like so. So, it smells good already. Alright, now, I made my lattice and I've been letting it chill. And so I did the cheap lattice. I just cut little triangles out instead of trying to do strips on my parchment paper, and we're just going to go for it. Like so. Video. Alright. I'm not worried about the top and the bottom connecting. I'm just going to tuck it in like this and just mash it down a little bit on the edges, like so. Alright. Okay. And this is how much I had left. So, it's enough to roll it out thin enough to make like a small pie later. You can keep it in the refrigerator for a week, or you can keep it up in your freezer for several months. So now I'm going to get out a cookie sheet because these pies are juicy and I don't my stove, my oven. I'll set this on here like so. And stick it in the oven to bake. And it says 50 to 60 minutes, so I'm gonna cut the middle and I'm gonna do 55 minutes. And in about 25 minutes, I'm gonna put my pie crust saver on there to keep my pie crust edges from getting too dark. So once it's all done, we'll be back and we'll show you our strawberry pie. All right, y'all, our pie is all done. And as you can see, doing the triangle lattice worked out just fine. Pie looks fine. You can also see around the edges that the strawberry juice did kind of come out a little bit, so it was a good thing I had my baking sheet under there. So we're gonna go ahead and cut into it and give it a try. It's still a little bit hot, but that's okay. We're just giving it a taste and see what we think. When it cools down, it will be a little bit more firmer, but it's okay. I'm sure it's gonna taste fine. All right, let's try it. That's perfect. That's really good. If y'all like my video, making homemade strawberry pie with fresh strawberries, please like my video, share it with others, subscribe to my channel, go back and watch my other videos. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see y'all next time in Nini's Texas Kitchen.